Jason Statham walked into the brightly lit studio with his signature stride. Calm, cool, but ready. The crowd clapped loud as ever, some even standing. He gave his usual nod, a half smirk that fans always fell for. It had been a while since his last big interview, and tonight, he was the headline guest on the Archie Lane Show, a popular late-night talk show that loved digging into personal lives more than discussing movies. Backstage, Jason had been told this was going to be a fun, lighthearted chat to promote his new film. He wasn't worried. He'd been through hundreds of interviews, some boring, some awkward, but none he couldn't handle. Until tonight. Archie Lane was waiting on the couch with his over-polished smile, the type that never reached his eyes. As Jason took his seat across from him, the host leaned forward with a gleam in his eye. Something didn't feel right. Jason. "Statham, ladies and gentlemen," Archie said loudly, cueing another burst of applause. Jason gave a quick wave, nodding at the crowd. "So Jason," Archie started, tapping his cue cards dramatically. "New movie, big stunts, same old bald badass, yeah?" Jason chuckled. "You could say that." The first few minutes went smoothly. Talk about the film. A few jokes about his driving skills and some playful teasing about his age. But then Archie's tone shifted. "Now, Jason," he said, flipping to another card. "I gotta ask. There's been a lot of talk, and I mean a lot, about your behavior on set. Word is you've been, let's say, difficult, demanding, maybe even a bit of a diva." Jason's smile faded just a bit. "Where'd you hear that?" "Oh, just some whispers. Crew members, a few co-stars. I mean, we've all seen those. Leaked videos, haven't we?" the audience murmured. Jason leaned forward. "Leaked videos?" Archie grinned like a snake. "You know that one where you stormed off set during a shoot, yelled at a camera guy? I mean, I've got it right here." He turned to the big screen behind them. Suddenly, a clip played, grainy, shaky phone footage of Jason, clearly frustrated, walking off a set. His voice was raised, but the audio was choppy. You couldn't even hear what he said, but Archie's narration did the damage. "Temper, temper," Archie said mockingly. Jason stared at the screen, jaw tight. "You're showing edited clips, and calling it truth?" "Well, you did storm off," Archie replied, laughing. "People want to know the real you, not the action hero act." The crowd laughed nervously. Some looked uncomfortable. Jason sat back in his chair, crossing his arms, and for a few seconds he didn't say a word. His silence was louder than any outburst. Then, slowly, he leaned toward the mic. "You want the real me?" he said, voice calm but cold. "All right." The crowd went silent. "I walked off because a camera operator nearly dropped a rig on a stunt double's head. Safety was ignored. I blew up, yeah, I swore, because that guy could have had his skull cracked open." Archie blinked, caught off guard. Jason continued, his voice gaining weight. "You don't see the 5 hours before that when the same thing happened twice. You don't see the producers shrug it off. But that's fine. Show your little clip. Get your laughs." A few people clapped. Archie cleared his throat. "But you're known to be aggressive, Jason," he said. "Isn't it fair to say?" "No," Jason cut in. "What's fair is to not take edited videos and present them like facts. You've been doing this to people for years, haven't you?" Archie's fake smile slipped. Jason turned to the, audience. "He did the same thing to that young actress last month, remember? Played an out-of-context clip of her crying and made it a punchline. She's in therapy now." The audience shifted uncomfortably. Murmurs turned into whispers. Archie tried to regain control. "Hey now, this is entertainment. No, this is humiliation dressed up as entertainment," Jason said sharply. "You bring people here to break them. You laugh while they bleed. I don't need this couch, mate. I came here to talk about a film, not defend my humanity." The crowd went quiet again. Then someone clapped, then another, and another. Within seconds, half the room was standing. Archie looked like he'd swallowed a nail. He tried to smile, but it looked more like a grimace. Jason stood up. "Interviews, over. But thanks for proving why most people in this industry are terrified of being real." He walked off the stage as the crowd applauded. Not for Archie, but for the man who just flipped the whole game on live television. Jason didn't look back as he exited the stage. The applause still rang behind him like a thunderclap. The crew, backstage, looked stunned, some even avoiding his eyes, while others gave him that subtle nod, one that said, finally, someone said it. He didn't stop walking until he reached the green room. There, he yanked off his mic, tossed it on the table, and took a deep breath. He wasn't angry anymore. He was done. He had played the Hollywood game for years. Show up, smile, say the safe thing. Let them paint whatever picture they want so long as the paycheck clears. But tonight something had snapped. Minutes later, his publicist Rachel barged into the room, phone in one hand, panic in her eyes. "Jason, what the hell just happened out there?" He turned, calm again. "Truth." "Truth? You basically told off one of the biggest hosts in late-night TV. His team is already spinning it like you threw a tantrum." "I didn't throw anything," he said. "And you were watching. Did I lose control?" She hesitated. "No, actually, you were sharp, honest. But his team is going to go full PR warfare." Jason shrugged. "Let him." Rachel stepped closer, voice dropping. "I just got a text from Warner. They're worried. And you know what that means, right? Press junket pullouts, potential blackballing. This wasn't just some indie interview. Archie's got reach." Jason looked her in the eye. "If telling the truth gets me blackballed, I'll find another way to make movies. Or maybe I won't. I'm not chasing status anymore." There was silence between them. Rachel sighed, rubbing her forehead. "You just blew up a ticking bomb that every other actor tiptoes around. They're calling it Jason's meltdown." "Good," he said. "Let them call it that. Maybe some other people will finally speak up too." She studied him for a moment, then her phone buzzed again. She read the screen and raised her eyebrows. "Well, this is unexpected." "What?" "The audience is blowing up online. Twitter's on fire. Jason Statham speaks the truth. Hashtags like Archie exposed, Craig stand with Statham, and Humiliation TV are trending." Jason sat down, arms crossed, a skeptical look on his face. "Seriously?" Rachel nodded, scrolling. "You hit a nerve. That moment where you called Archie out on the actress. That clip's been viewed over 2 million times in the last 15 minutes. People are digging up other guests he mocked, crying on camera. They're pissed." Jason smirked, just a little. "Didn't expect that." Rachel sat beside him. "You may have just lit the match on something bigger. But brace yourself. Archie's team won't go down quiet. They'll dig into your past, twist whatever they can." "I've made peace with my past, have they?" Just then, his phone buzzed. A text from a name he hadn't seen in years. Emily. He stared at it for a second before opening it. That was brave. He did the same to me 5 years ago. I didn't have the guts to speak out. You just gave us all a voice. Jason exhaled, slowly, staring at the message. He remembered her now. Emily Ruiz, a rising young actress he once shared a small role with. Sweet, kind, sensitive. Archie had mocked her appearance, made cruel jokes about her weight and voice live with a laugh track. She cried on camera. The next day, tabloids tore her apart. Her career had never recovered. Jason typed back, "I remember. I'm sorry I didn't speak up then. I see it now." More messages started rolling in, from stunt crews, fellow actors, even producers. People who had once been afraid to say anything. People who had been humiliated on Archie's stage. The floodgates were opening. Rachel looked over at him. "You know, if you wanted to talk about this seriously, not as promotion, but as a cause, people might listen." Jason shook his head. "I'm not doing this for headlines. But if the truth helps people stop being scared, then yeah, I'll keep going." Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. A young producer from the show peeked in, hesitant. Mr. Statham? I just wanted to say thank you. You said what all of us here are too scared to." Jason nodded. "You okay?" She looked down. "Not really. Archie's us rough. And now everyone's walking on eggshells, but you gave us hope. As she left, Rachel turned to him with a mix of amazement and disbelief. You may have started a war in Hollywood. Jason looked out the window, the city lights glowing beyond. Then it's about time someone fought back. The storm hit the industry faster than anyone expected. Within hours of the live broadcast, Jason's name was everywhere. News outlets ran headlines like Jason Statham explodes on Archie Lane, but is he the villain or the hero? Social media turned into a battleground. On one side were Archie's defenders, mostly industry loyalists, anonymous trolls, and gossip reporters. On the other were fans, crew members, minor actors, and even a few brave celebrities who'd had their own bitter history with the talk show host. By morning, Jason was trending worldwide, not for his movie, not for a scandal, but for standing up, live, without a script, in an industry that punished people who did. He woke up early, despite the lack of sleep. Coffee in hand, he sat on his balcony scrolling through messages, most of them full of gratitude. Some were heartbreaking, stories of actors, comedians, musicians, humiliated, edited into punchlines, laughed off camera, never the same after. He got one message from a guy named Leo Tran, a stand-up comic who once appeared on Archie's show. I tried to take my own life after what he did to me. That interview you walked out of? That saved more people than you know. Jason didn't know what to say. He typed back only 2 words. Stay strong. Rachel called at 7:30 sharp. You up? Barely. You need to see this. Archie's team just released a statement. Jason clicked the link she sent. It was a PR-drenched post on Archie's official page, clearly written by his handlers. The Archie Lane show has always prided itself on being edgy, fun, and fearless. We believe in asking tough questions and giving our guests a platform to shine. We regret if Mr. Statham felt uncomfortable, but we stand by our commitment to honest entertainment. Jason read it twice, then scoffed. Typical. Rachel was furious. They're painting it like you were overreacting. That clip they posted? They chopped out your entire response. It ends with Archie laughing and you sitting still like you had nothing to say. He leaned back, silent for a second. So they're going to lie. Fine. Let's give them the truth. Unedited. Later that afternoon, Jason sat in a modest room. A camera crew he trusted set up in front of him. No glitz, no showbiz polish, just him and a mic. I want to talk. Directly to the people watching, he began. For the next 15 minutes, he told the whole story. What happened backstage, the context behind the clip, the pressure celebrities felt to stay quiet. He mentioned Emily, Leo, and others with their permission. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't curse, he didn't rant. He spoke like a man tired of masks and ready to burn them all. He ended with, if entertainment means humiliation, we've lost the plot. I'm not canceling Archie, I'm holding him accountable, and I'm asking who else will. They posted the video on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Within the hour, it exploded. Celebrities who usually stayed out of controversy started reposting it. Actors like John Boyega, Charlize Theron, and even Dwayne Johnson chimed in with support. The hashtag #TheHumiliationTV climbed to the top of trending charts along with Statham Speaks Truth. And then something unexpected happened. Emily Ruiz posted her own video. She had aged, visibly more fragile than before, but her words were strong. Archie Lane shattered my confidence. I spent years thinking I was the problem, that I didn't belong. Jason speaking up? That helped me heal. That gave me the strength to say this. What happened to me wasn't okay, and I'm not alone. The floodgates truly opened now. Former guests posted stories, never-before-seen clips, DMs, and emails from Archie's staff, warning them not to get emotional or make it too serious. Anonymous employees from the show came forward. A few even accused the production of editing clips to intentionally provoke embarrassment. Jason watched it all unfold from his living room, the weight of it settling in. He hadn't expected a revolution. He just wanted to stop playing along. Bye. Evening, Rachel called again. Jason, she said breathlessly. Archie's show just got pulled off tonight's network schedule. He sat up. What? They're saying it's temporary. Internal review, blah blah. But you shook. The damn building, you brought it to its knees. Jason didn't smile. He wasn't celebrating, because deep down he knew this wasn't over. This wasn't just about one host or one show. It was about a system that fed off broken people, and a crowd trained to laugh while they fell. And Jason was far from finished. Shot. The next day, Jason couldn't leave his house without being recognized, not just as a movie star, but now as the man who broke the silence. Paparazzi swarmed outside his gates. News vans camped across the street. And while the attention felt suffocating, it was different this time. It wasn't scandal they wanted, it was a story. People wanted to hear more from him, not about who he dated or what car he drove, but about what really happened behind the curtain. Meanwhile, the Archie Lane show went completely dark. No uploads, no reruns, no press tours. The official statement from the network was vague. We are reviewing concerns raised about the show's conduct and editorial practices. But the rumors flying around were a lot clearer. Whistleblowers were coming out of the woodwork. Former interns, editors, assistants. One of them posted a 3-page letter online detailing how Archie's team would deliberately set up guests with misleading questions, show unapproved clips, and manipulate lighting and camera angles to capture the most awkward reactions. It was all part of the formula. Humiliate them, go viral, cash in. Jason sat with Rachel at her office that afternoon, watching it all unfold on her monitor. He's finished, she said, half in shock, half in awe. You didn't just crack the glass, you shattered the whole foundation. Jason leaned back in his chair. I didn't do it alone. You were the fuse. The others had the powder. You lit the damn thing. He didn't say anything. Instead, his eyes drifted to an email on her screen. From Netflix. What's that? Rachel raised an eyebrow. It's interesting. She opened it. It was an offer. A documentary series. Inside the industry. The price of fame. And they wanted Jason to executive produce it. Maybe even host. They want you to guide the conversation, she explained. A real look behind the cameras. Abuse, manipulation, exploitation. This could be the real deal. Jason frowned slightly. I didn't do all this to get a show. No. But if you want to keep this momentum going, if you want to actually change something, maybe this is how. He stared at the screen. After everything, this offer didn't feel like a reward. It felt like responsibility. Just then, Rachel's assistant popped her head in. Jason? There's someone here to see you. She says you'll want to. Jason gave her a curious look. Who is it? Emily Ruiz. He stood up instantly. Downstairs, Emily was waiting in the lobby. She looked different, older, quieter, but her eyes were steady. As he walked up to her, she smiled softly. Didn't think I'd get a response that fast, she said. I meant it when I texted, Jason said. You okay? She nodded. Better now. They sat together in a quiet corner of the office. For a moment, they didn't speak. Then she looked at him. You gave me back something I thought I'd lost, my voice. But more than that, you made them listen. Jason didn't know what to say. He didn't feel like a hero, but when she reached into her bag and pulled out a notebook worn and half full, he leaned in. I've been writing, she said. Stories about what happened, about people like me, people they broke. Jason took the notebook gently, flipping through a few pages. Raw, real, pain and power in every word. I want to help you tell them, he said. Emily smiled, a tear slipping down her cheek. Then let's tell them together. That night, Jason posted one more video. No scripts, no crew, just his phone camera. I started this by accident. But now it's a mission. If you've ever been made to feel small for someone else's entertainment, This is for you. If you've been edited into shame, mocked for ratings, left to suffer in silence, we're listening. We're building something different. And we're done being quiet. The comments poured in, and somewhere, in a mansion now much quieter than usual, Archie Lane sat alone watching it all burn, because this time the script wasn't his to write. 2 weeks passed and the industry still hadn't recovered. What started as a viral moment had snowballed into a full-scale reckoning. Talk show hosts across networks were being scrutinized. Old interviews were pulled up and dissected. Moments once considered entertainment gold were now seen for what they were, emotional abuse dressed in a laugh track. But this movement wasn't just confined to late-night television anymore. Agencies began releasing internal memos, reminding staff about professionalism during media appearances. Studios called emergency PR meetings, and social media. It was ablaze with testimonials, some from big names, but many from forgotten faces. Extras, writers, bit actors, people, chewed up and spit out by a system built on spectacle. Jason, meanwhile, was more visible than ever, but in a different light. He wasn't doing press tours or flashy appearances. He was showing up to indie panels, hosting quiet online forums, and collaborating with Emily on a mini-documentary they titled The Cut That Bled, a reference to all the manipulative edits people never saw coming. It wasn't just about Archie anymore. It was about everyone like him, but not everyone was thrilled. The backlash came, as it always did. A few celebrities tried to defend Archie, calling Jason overly sensitive. Some tabloids claimed he was milking the moment for personal gain. Anonymous producers whispered that Jason had a messiah complex. There was even a half-baked article trying to link his past bar fights to a pattern of aggression. Jason read that one while sipping coffee and barely blinked. "That's the best they've got?" he said to Rachel. "They're grasping at straws," she replied, scrolling through yet another smear article. "You've shifted the power balance. People like Archie? They're not used to being held accountable." Then came the call. Rachel stared at her phone, confused. "You're not gonna believe who just reached out." Jason raised an eyebrow. "Who?" "Archie. Himself." Jason blinked. "You're joking." "Nope. He wants a private meeting. Says he wants to talk man, to man. No cameras, no press." Jason sat back thinking, why would he do that? "Damage control," Rachel muttered. "He knows his reputation is radioactive. Maybe he wants to flip the narrative, paint you two as reconciling. Or maybe he's just desperate." Jason was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Set it up." Rachel blinked. "You sure?" He nodded. "Let's hear what the man has to say." 2 days later, they met at a private room in a quiet restaurant in Beverly Hills. No staff, no press. Just Jason and Archie. Archie looked different. Smaller, not physically but in presence. He didn't wear the flashy suit, didn't have the fake tan. Just a man stripped of his performance. He stood as Jason walked in. "Thanks for coming." Jason didn't shake his hand. He just sat. "I've been watching all of it," Archie said quickly, nervously. "The videos, the fallout, everything. I didn't expect it to go like this." Jason stared. "That's the thing, isn't it? You never expected anyone to push back?" Archie sighed, rubbing his temples. "Look, I know I've been harsh, but that's the game. The audience wants blood. They laugh when we push too far. I just gave them what they wanted." "No," Jason said coldly. "You gave them what you wanted. You made people's worst moments into comedy. You didn't build a show. You built a guillotine and called it a couch." Archie looked away. "I was just trying to stay relevant. You know how this industry is." "Don't you dare," Jason snapped. "Don't blame the industry for your cruelty." There was a long pause. Finally, Archie looked up. "What do you want from me?" Jason narrowed his eyes. "You think I'm here to make a deal, to shake hands and pretend this never happened?" Archie stayed silent. Jason stood, You want to fix this? Start by telling the truth on camera. Admit what you did, not just to me, to all of them. You want me to destroy myself. You already did that, Jason replied. I'm just asking you to stop lying about the fire while you hold the match. And then he walked out. As he stepped into the sunlight, Rachel was waiting nearby. How'd it go? She asked. He's not ready, Jason said. But the world is. The next week was like watching a tower slowly collapse, one brick at a time. Archie didn't release a statement. He didn't apologize. He didn't appear on any news shows to defend himself. Instead, he disappeared. Social media wiped. Email auto-replies set. His house dark. He vanished, like a man waiting for the storm to pass. But this wasn't a storm. It was a reckoning, and it wasn't stopping. Meanwhile, Jason and Emily pushed forward. The teaser for The Cut That Bled dropped on YouTube. A single minute. No narration. Just a montage of silent, tearful faces from past interviews, actors breaking on camera, comedians wilting under cruel jabs, singers forced to laugh through pain. And then, in the final frame, Jason's voice. They called it entertainment. We called it survival. The video exploded. Within 24 hours, it had over 20 million views. News anchors debated it. Former guests begged to be part of the full documentary. Some tried to distance themselves from Archie's legacy. Other hosts, editors, even PR firms that once worked with his show. The rats were scrambling. Jason was invited onto dozens of talk shows, but he refused most of them. He chose one, the Lena Cross Hour, a platform known for raw, no-nonsense interviews. Lena didn't waste time. You could have just walked away, Jason, she said, mid-interview. Instead, you turned around and started swinging. Why? Jason didn't flinch. Because walking away is easy. But I looked around and saw too many people who never got up again. They needed someone to say, you weren't weak. They needed to know it wasn't their fault. And now? Now I want change, real change. Not just apologies and PR stunts. I want guidelines for interviews. I want networks to stop protecting hosts who feed off humiliation. I want safe spaces for people to speak their truth without being punished for it. Lena leaned back, nodding slowly. You've turned from action star to activist. Was that the plan? No, Jason said. But maybe it was overdue. After the interview, something unexpected happened. A-list actors, the ones who rarely spoke unless it involved a new franchise, started backing him publicly. George Clooney tweeted, "Been in this game 30 years. Saw too much. Jason's not wrong." Viola Davis reposted "The Cut That Bled" with the caption, "Every tear in this clip is a career someone tried to bury." But the most surprising voice came days later, Robert Downey Jr. He posted a selfie with Jason, both of them sitting on a studio backlot bench, grinning like old friends. Had my own breakdown in front of those cameras years ago. It was supposed to be funny. It nearly killed me. Grateful to this guy for pulling the curtain back. Respect, Jason was stunned. He never asked for validation, but this kind of support, it meant the conversation was bigger than him now. He'd cracked something open and truth was pouring out faster than anyone could stop it. Then one morning Rachel barged into his house. "Okay, this one's gonna rattle you." Jason rubbed his eyes. "What now?" She threw a tablet on the table. "Archie Lane just scheduled a live press conference today, 4 p.m., no network. Just live stream. Full statement." Jason froze. He sat still for a long second. "You think he's actually gonna come clean?" "I don't know," Rachel said. "He might grovel. He might deflect. But people are watching now. He can't hide behind the laugh track anymore." Jason stood, walking to the window. The city looked quieter from up here. The same city that made him famous. The same city that tried to tear him down for speaking the truth. The same city now waiting for Archie Lane to do what he never could. Admit he was wrong. "Let him talk," Jason finally said. "But no matter what he says, we keep going. Because this isn't about Archie anymore. It's about all of them." Rachel nodded. The world's listening now. And Jason knew it. The battle wasn't over, but they had momentum. For the first time in a long time, Hollywood wasn't laughing. It was listening. At exactly 4:00 p.m., the live stream went live. The screen showed a simple podium set against a plane. White backdrop, no banners, no branding, no studio audience. Just a single microphone and a chair behind it. It was the most stripped-down setting Archie Lane had ever been in. Over 2 million people tuned in within the first 5 minutes. Jason sat in his living room, Emily beside him. Rachel stood near the kitchen counter, nervously chewing a pen cap. None of them spoke. The room was dead silent. Then Archie appeared. He looked nothing like the cocky man who used to glide across the stage in designer suits, hair slicked back and ego turned up to 11. His eyes were tired. His skin was pale. And his voice, when he finally spoke, was smaller than any of them had ever heard. He cleared his throat. I don't really know where to begin, but I guess the truth is a good place. He paused, looking down at a piece of paper he didn't read from. For 20 years, I was the king of cruelty. I masked it, so does comedy. I told myself that if people laughed, it was fine. That if celebrities agreed to come on my show, they were fair game. That it was all just a bit of fun. He looked up, eyes glassy. But it wasn't fun. It was damage. I caused real pain. I know that now. Jason leaned forward in his seat. Even from a screen, he could tell. This wasn't rehearsed. This wasn't PR. Archie Lane was cracking open. I humiliated people for ratings. I edited their worst moments into punchlines. I pressured young actors, manipulated reactions, and treated their trauma as entertainment. I didn't even think about what happened after the cameras stopped rolling. He swallowed hard. When Jason Statham walked off my stage, I was angry. Not because of what he said, but because he said it on my turf, and worse. Because deep down I knew he was right. I've known for years, I just didn't care. He looked straight into the camera. To everyone I hurt, publicly or privately, I am sorry. Not the kind of sorry that's followed by excuses. Just sorry. I was wrong. And I don't expect forgiveness. A long silence. I don't know if I'll ever be on camera again. Maybe I shouldn't be. But I do know this. The way we treat people in this industry needs to change. I was a symptom, but the disease is still here. And if I have any part to play now, it's making sure this cycle ends. The live stream cut out without warning. No outro, no music, just darkness. Jason sat back, processing. Emily wiped a quiet tear from her cheek. Rachel let out a low whistle. Well, she said. Did not see that coming. Jason nodded slowly. Neither did I. Later that evening, the internet was split. Some praised Archie's honesty, others dismissed it as self-preservation, but most agreed on one thing: it felt real. And in a world where apologies were often written by lawyers, that mattered. Still, Jason knew better than to celebrate. Archie's words were just that, words. The system that made him wasn't going to crumble from a live stream. It would take more. And that's why Jason and Emily pressed forward with their documentary. 2 weeks later, The Cut That Bled premiered online as a free-to-watch release. No ads, no sponsors, just truth. Unfiltered. It featured over 40 testimonials, actors, comedians, talk show interns, production assistants, people broken by the system, and those finally finding their way back. One story featured Leo Tran, the stand-up comic who once considered ending his life after being mocked on Archie's stage. Now, he was running a support group for entertainers recovering from media trauma. Another segment showed behind-the-scenes footage of talk shows mocking vulnerable guests, captured by hidden crew members who'd had enough. Jason didn't narrate the film. He appeared only once, at the end. He stood in front of the same empty studio where Archie's show once filmed. No more applause for pain, he said. No more laughing tracks over someone's breaking point. We're better than that. Or, at least, we can be. When the film ended, there was silence, then applause. Real applause. The kind that didn't need a sign or a flashing light to be earned. The air felt different now. Hollywood was still glitzy, still shallow in places, but something beneath it had shifted. Jason could feel it everywhere he went, in the way journalists asked questions more cautiously now, in how studio execs held their words longer before responding, in how younger actors smiled with something that looked a little closer to real hope. The movement had a name now: Cut with Care, a term borrowed from the Cut That Bled documentary. It quickly turned into a campaign. Not a trend, not a moment. A campaign with real teeth. By the third week of the film's release, several networks had agreed to adopt new ethical guidelines for interviews. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Jason attended one of the first roundtable panels with industry leaders, trauma psychologists, and former guests of high-profile talk shows. Emily sat beside him, notebook in hand, speaking clearer, louder than ever. She was no longer the timid actress who once cried in her dressing room after Archie Lane's interview. She was now the voice many never had. "We need to end this idea that if someone's in the spotlight, they don't bleed," she said to the crowd of executives and media professionals. "Celebrity doesn't mean invincible. These interviews aren't gladiator pits. They're meant to be conversations, not cages." Applause followed. No cue cards, no flashing signs. That night after the panel, Jason and Emily sat on a rooftop downtown, watching the city below buzz with a different kind of energy. "You know," she said, sipping tea, "I used to think this place would swallow me whole. Now, I don't feel afraid of it anymore." Jason glanced over at her. "That's the real win. Not the headlines, not the applause, just that." She smiled. "And what about you? What comes next?" He thought for a moment. "Honestly, maybe I disappear for a while. Let others step in. I was never trying to become a symbol. I just wanted to tell the truth." Emily laughed. "You're going to have a hard time hiding now. You're in 1,000 articles, 1,000,000 reposts, and 3 viral TikToks of you walking away in slow motion." Jason chuckled. "Bloody internet." Just then Rachel texted, "You might want to see this. It's from Archie." Jason opened the message. It wasn't long, just a single line and a photo. "I signed over the rights to my old show archives. No edits, no restrictions. Let them see what I was. It's the only way I can start fixing the damage." The photo showed a signed transfer document. Jason didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, he stared out at the glowing skyline, letting the moment settle. Months passed. The world moved on, as it always does, but the mark had been made. A new wave of talk show hosts emerged, gentler, smarter, more accountable. The flashy cruelty of the past no longer hit the same way. Viewers noticed. Advertisers noticed. Things were evolving. Jason took a break from the spotlight. He traveled, quietly visited schools and small theaters, speaking to young artists about resilience, respect, and the power of saying no. Emily finished her first book, The Unscripted Life, part memoir, part manifesto. It became a bestseller. And The Cut That Bled? It won a Peabody, then an Emmy. At the awards show, Jason didn't walk the red carpet. He arrived late, sat in the back, and didn't give a speech when it won. He let Emily and Leo speak instead. When reporters asked why he didn't step forward, he said, "It's not about me anymore. It never was." The final image that stuck with the world wasn't of Jason punching someone in a blockbuster or walking off stage in a fury. It was of him in that documentary, quietly standing in the ruins of the studio that once glorified shame and reminding the world, people aren't here to be broken for your amusement. They're here to be heard. And for once, the world actually listened.